We had our first full day of games in the NBA, 9 of them. We're going to recap them. I was thinking maybe this show should go as long as the amount of minutes the Sandro Mamakilishvili played. Michael Bolton?
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and you're better stand down. I'm the truth. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So go in there and sign up. And also check out LockedOnDaily.com. You can find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. That is LockedOnDaily.com. All the info that you need is delivered free into your inbox. All you double bangers, reunite? Yeah, reunite, because we're back after the All-Star break. So go ahead and double bang and thumb and all of that stuff. Get your sticky buns ready, because it's National Sticky Bun Day as we recap Thursday's action across the league. 9 games on. We did see some stuff, and this is this thing that happens. We see it after the All-Star break. We see decisions get made. Not a huge amount, to be honest, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. But there were some where there were situations where we weren't sure what they were going to do, but some changes were made to rotations that we do need to pay attention to all through this. And let's just start by getting to a little bit of news here. Now, I'm not going to talk at length about Victor Wembanyama being out. We'll talk about that in the Spurs game. We know that Bobby Portis is suspended. But what news did come down is that Goldfinger, Charlie Bassey, sprained MCL legend, who I thought might miss more weeks here, way more weeks. Apparently he's back tomorrow. Okay. That's not 100% confirmed. But Australian fast bowling legend Spurs coach Mitch Johnson said that, there's a chance that he plays tomorrow. So, go and grab Charles Bassey. We'll talk about the misfires on the Spurs rotation later when we're recapping that game, because I didn't think this was going to happen. We'll talk about it later. That extra note there, that was actually just supposed to be a text. Anyway, BJ Boston has been converted from the Pelicans from a 2-way deal into a full-time deal. So we need to watch. They don't play today. Obviously, they play tomorrow. We need to see how they use things. But also, interestingly, is we thought Yves Missy was going to miss some time, and apparently not. He's listed questionable. So, Javonte Green is gone, but BJ's converted. Missy is back. So I don't know what that means for Makovic. It means he's probably not a must-roster guy. It means he's got some value, but we know where we're at this point of the year. Very, very few of these guys are must-roster. They're players that you look at and you go, maybe. Whatever. Because, even some of the guys that we thought might have been must-roster pre-break, maybe that's not the case anymore either. And we've got to start to be brutal. We've got to start cutting. Colin Sexton remains out in Utah. No real update as to how long that's going to be. We will get to the stage where he will be a cut pretty clearly. And then we get to see them win the Friday, Saturday back-to-back, the Jazz, as to how they're going to play out the back-to-backs. Julius Randle and the Big Ragu remain sidelined. Randle, no clear timetable, but he's practicing, and Dante's doing non-contact work. I'm going to guess it's a week for Randle, maybe. Probably. I still worry that DiVincenzo takes him through to the end of March, but I don't know. I wouldn't be... It's okay to waste an ad this week to stash someone, and you might want to do that with DiVincenzo. But if you don't have stash ability, I'm not sure that his return is happening like right now. It might be, but I don't know. And the other one is Eric Gordon. That's not Aaron, that's Eric Gordon for the Sixers. I talked about them signing Lonnie Walker, saying, hey, they're a little bit worried about this wrist injury. And it turns out, yes, they are. He's dealing with a wrist issue that's going to keep him at least a couple of weeks out, and it is feeling a little mysterious as to what's going on. So just don't be shocked if Eric Gordon's out for a long period of time, which helps Walker and helps Grimes maintain a little bit more security in what they do. Let's take a look at some trends across fantasy basketball waiver wires before we get into these 9 games. Talk about the most added, the most dropped players, the most added players. Some of these are interesting names, whether they're useful or not, I don't know. But the number 1 most added player over the last 48 hours is Gary Trent. I'm guessing that people did that because Bobby Portis got suspended. I'll talk about the Bucks game later on. They've got a back-to-back, I know, but I don't know how highly I'd be prioritizing Trent. Max Strus, absolutely not. Ben Simmons, we'll talk about that. The Clippers game, I believe, is just finished, but I haven't actually checked the box score on that at this point, so I'll see whether that makes sense. Again, not sure it's going to work. Dorian Finney-Smith, you got to get pretty desperate there. Andrew Nembhard, very much in the cut zone, and Al Horford similarly. And I think that grouping of players, the only one there I can see that maybe could work out long-term, and I actually don't think it is Ben Simmons. But everyone else, I go, okay, you added them. But I'd hope that all those players get added just for single-day streams. Because none of them have any sort of shot, I don't think, at long-term, let's just even say top 100 numbers. I don't see how that happens. And that's, I think, where we have to start transitioning our mindset towards. The most drop players. A couple of these are pretty obvious. Number one is Bob Portis. Easy drop for him. Out basically the whole season. Moussa Diabate. Well, we'll talk about that Hornets game later, but there was no Mark Williams, and guess who started? The answer is not Diabate. It was Yusuf Nurkic. And he got zeros yesterday, Diabate. He didn't start today. We'll recap it more when we get to that game, but yeah, I think that's okay to do. Victor Wembanyama out for the season. That's not good. Obviously, we just hope that everything's fine for him to return next season. Bud Hield, yep, bye-bye. Aaron Wiggins, absolutely. All their players are back, like Carson Wallace and Alex Caruso, all available. No reason to hold on to Wiggins. And the last one there is Keon Ellis, and we just don't know what the Kings are going to do. They played 21 minutes last game, which is clearly not enough for us, is it? I would have added those guys. I probably would have tried to hold Ellis the most. But I'm also not really convinced that they're going to do the right thing and give him enough minutes to make it valuable for us. That means we can get now into the first game of the day. Memphis and Indiana is your first matchup. Ja Morant returned, and maybe some of us wish that he didn't, because, man, what is this? What is going on? How is this man being this high-level, unbelievable, or NBA-level player, and then, especially for us, for fantasy, the last 2 seasons, just a complete disaster. Morant played 30 minutes here. He had 10 points. He didn't hit a single three or grab a single rebound. He had 6 assists. He shot 21% from the field and didn't generate a single defensive stat. In saying that, he's still been like a top 50 player, but in points leagues, he should be a top 15 player. And it's under-discussed, I think. He's been one of the biggest busts of the season. Just terrible. What is this? He started. Luke Kennard went to the bench. Santi Aldama did the thing. He's fine. 10 and 7, 2 threes, steal and a block. That is reasonably good. That's pretty good. Is it good enough if he's on your team to hold up a streaming slot? Probably not. Probably not. Doesn't mean you have to get rid of him, but it's probably not good enough. And the same goes with Zach Edey. He played a good team, so he got 22 minutes. He had 5 points. He had 11 rebounds, that's fine. He had a block. So I'm just going to blanket jack both of these guys, one with each hand.
Get that garbage out of here.
You can hold, if I had to hold them, I would hold Aldama over Edey without really any question. But we are, again, our brains have to change at this point of the year. Whether you're fighting for the playoffs, whether you're in the playoffs in a week, you've got to start making these decisions. Jalen Wells was very good. 17 points in 27 minutes is great. Not a lot else going on there, and I wouldn't trust it for a single second. While Des Bane had 23, 5, and 6. He had 2 blocks, so did Jarom, who had 18, 7, and 4. They're the guys carrying this team. Scottie Pippen basically out of the rotation, under 2 minutes. Greg Jackson played 17 minutes. We're not rostering him anywhere. And then Vince Williams, with the numbers bumped up to 20 minutes, he had 7 and 6. We're just watching him. I think he will be moving into that 12-team adjacent streaming sort of pot of players. Shout out to Marvin Bagley for getting 2 minutes of garbage time. Now we take a look at the Pacers side of this. Miles Turner returned. He was starting and Thomas Bryant went to the bench. People did add Thomas Bryant, which never made any sense to me, but please, for the love of absolute God, please.
Get that garbage out of here.
Drop Thomas Bryant. Turner was great. Apart from the poor shooting, but 17 and 10 with 3 threes and 7 blocks is unbelievable. And Halliburton hurt his shoulder, but he ended up playing 32 minutes and had 22, 5, 9, steal and a block. And we'll take that every day of the week. If that's what he's giving us, we just got to hope it continues. The shoulder looks fine. Siakam, whatever, 16, 4, and 2, not bad. But what I want to talk about is this grouping of guards, Mathurin, Neesmith, and Nembhard. Because Mathurin, you'll have 16 and 4, 2 steals and a block, and you'll go, Josh, that's really good. I'll say it is. That's true, it is good. He did it by shooting 67%. He did it with 100% shooting from the line. And I still don't think you care. I don't think you need to roster him in 12-team leagues. Because I could look at Andrew Nembhard's game and go 11-3-4 with 2 steals and go, that's not far off. Or I could look at Neesmith's and go 13-7 with 3 threes and go, you know what? He blocked a shot, that's not far off as well. I could even look at TJ McConnell, who had 7-2-7 with a block and go, you know what? Not bad. All of these guys are going to just eat and eat and eat, human caterpillar style, into each other. And the fact that I can just find 4 of these guys at a similar level on one team, again, explains that when we get to this period of the year, when we change our minds about how we assess our roster, we don't care as much about rest of season value. We're talking about what are you doing right now? And the fact that I could pick any of these guys and get something sort of interesting out of it. And yeah, look, I have Nembhard ahead of Mathurin, ahead of Neesmith, ahead of McConnell, probably. But getting that and getting 7 of those games in a week versus 3 from holding one of them, it's the most obvious choice of all time. So no, Neesmith's not a 12er, Mathurin's not, Nembhard's not, McConnell's not. You don't roster them. No point. You can for individual spots where it makes sense, but you don't otherwise. You don't just grab them, hold them, and, I'll wait till they play their second game of the week on Thursday. You don't do that. It doesn't make sense. The math problem doesn't work out. The Boston Celtics made a couple of changes to their lineup in their big win over the Sixers because Jrue Holiday returned. That meant Slam and Sammy Hauser went to the bench, and Jaylen Brown came back, and Al Horford went to the bench. Let's start with Jrue Holiday. He played 20 minutes. He had 8 points. I think you know what we're going to do with Jrue Holiday.
Get that garbage out of here!
Yeah, that's correct, Jack. We are moving on from Jrue. There's just no reason that we need to be holding him. He has been not even close to being above a cut line guy for a long time, and a lot of it is holding on through, but he used to be good. And I'm not saying he's not good, but he's not doing enough for us at this point. This game was a blowout, and that's okay, and they're going to protect him, but do you think the Celtics aren't going to have many blowouts? The same goes with Al Horford, who was one of the most added players we talked about earlier. Come on.
Get that garbage out of here!
That's true, Jack. He had 11 points with 4 rebounds in 18 minutes. You don't have to roster that at all. At all. Tatum, 15, 11, and 10. Nice triple-double. Big game from Pritchard. He took 18 shots, which is a lot when Tatum and Brown are taking 13. He got really hot early. It was a blowout. He got 31 minutes. Went back in hot streak Peyton Pritchard time. 28 with 8 threes. But you'll also, if you just cast your eye across, you'll notice, not a single rebound, steal, or block, or free throw. And he shot 56% to get there. So it is, very, very fluky. It's very fluky. Don't read too much into it. He still feels like a benchy, streamy piece to me. Jaylen Brown, 26 and 6 is fine. Pretty good game from him. And Maximum Derek had 16 and 10 with no defensive stats. Not a great game, but good enough. And overall, some solid stuff. I think Luke Cornett is moving into that streaming pool of players. Old mate, Luke had 6 points, but he had 7 boards, he had 4 assists, he had 1 steal, he had 2 blocks. It's a really good game. We like that game from Luke, and we don't need to be adding him, of course, but it's more, there might be a spot here where he can play 23 and Horford sits or Porzingis sits. So he's absolutely in that grouping of guys that we can look at. Torrey Craig with 3 blocks as well in this game, sort of out of nowhere. Don't need to worry too much about that, but I know the Celtics bench guys were really enjoying seeing him do that. On to the Sixers. Embiid returned. Yabusele went to the bench. Tyrese Maxey returned. Jared Butler went to the bench and was just basically out of the rotation entirely. And yeah, not very good. They lose 124-104 if I didn't say that already. Let's talk about Grimes, who's probably the big option here. He played 33 minutes. That's good. 12, 7, and 3 is mid. I would much prefer to hold Grimes over holding a Mathurin, Nembhard, Neesmith, but it's not far off that mix, is it? I think the difference is that you can see a situation where George or Embiid miss time and Grimes elevates. So he's a soft hold, but yeah. Paul George was better, 17, 2, and 2, whatever. You're not doing really much with him, are you? But to be fair, I've had multiple people ask, hey, do I just drop Paul George? No, you don't. But yeah, that's okay, that game. Maxey had 16, 5, and 7. Oubre chucked in 3 steals with his 16 points. And I don't think you need to hold Yabusele for this very, very clear reason, I think. When Embiid plays, he had 25 minutes, he had 4 and 8. That's not good enough. And when Embiid doesn't play, I feel like he hits 50% of the time. That's nowhere near a good enough result to be holding on to someone. If I want to hold on to a Yabusele, I'm going to need a spot where if Embiid is out, this man rolls as a top 40 player. But he doesn't. he rolls as a top 60 guy on the games that are good. And if they're a bad game, they're not there. And then there's all the bench ones. So no, we don't have to hold on to Gershon Yabusele. And I can see their advanced roster numbers here. He sits at 81% on Basketball Monster. So a lot of people are just, I think, not utilizing that roster spot correctly for the rest of the season. But we'll find out. Today's episode is brought to you by the big fellas over at DoorDash. NBA fans, I don't think we got any 50-point games today, but we'll find out, because if they swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you get a huge deal the next day. Whenever they score 50 in a game during the NBA regular season, Dash Pass members will get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Do you want pizzas, wings, dips, snacks, burritos, chilaquiles, whatever it is, Dash Pass is going to be able to help you out. You sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. Maybe you can order a succulent Chinese meal. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight. After a 50-point game on eligible orders of participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Now we get to go on to the next game. It is the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Brooklyn Nets. The Cavs win it comfortably 110-97. They trotted out the same lineup that they've been using, or the last game they used anyway. That was with Max Strus at the 3. It's like I said, easy, comfortable victory from these guys. Let's take a look at what the score. 107-97 final score. 110-97. Strus, 5 points, 20% shooting. Rostered in 12-team leagues. Shall we just make him part of the Mathurin collective? Because he is. And so is DeAndre Hunter, who had 9 points in 27 minutes. And you know what happens tomorrow? Dean Wade returns. So Wade is going to play. Isaac Okoro played. We got 25 Sam Merrill minutes. We had 17 Ty Jerome minutes, who was also rostered in an insanely high percentage of 12-team leagues, Ty Jerome. He had 6, 1, and 3. And there's not enough for them to do. There's not enough. And there will be games. Absolutely. There will be some games, I'm guessing, where your Mitchell rests or Garland rests or someone gets hurt and Jerome pops off and you go, see, that was great. But it doesn't matter, because we're in a situation here where you've got the 4 guys, Mobley, Garland, Allen, Mitchell, and then it's Jerome, Hunter, Okoro, Merrill, Strus, all of them. Too many of them. Not enough to look at any of them as 12-team holds. Drop Hunter, drop Strus, drop Jerome. Don't hold them up. They are clogging. Now, you could get to a spot where, hey, I've got 3 of these guys. Do I drop them all? No, because you've got to obviously make sense of how many waiver moves you can make per week and how you can strategize and stream that in. But that's, you're always looking, hey, is this my worst guy, my second worst guy? Because let's clear 2 spots up nearly every time. Mobley, 18 and 13. Garland, 18, 2 and 9, 3 steals. This is just basic stuff. They cooked them. Jarrett Allen, 16 and 20, revenge game with a steal and a block, and Mitchell had 26. They just didn't need to do much, and that's really all I think we need to see there is, hey, look what happened with Strus, Okoro, Merrill, Jerome, Hunter. And you go, yep, guess we're on to the next group, and that is what you should, or how I think you should look at that. For the Nets, we needed to see some stuff about how they're going to run minutes around with this team, and we got some sort of an answer on D'Angelo Russell, because he played 17 minutes and 30 seconds. That's 18 minutes for those of you rounding up. He had 3 points. He shot 14%. Then he hurt his ankle, didn't return. And D'Angelo Russell now, over the last 5 games, is averaging 22 minutes a night. He's the 260th ranked player. And yeah, he might be someone you consider as a better player than Ben Mathurin or Max Strus, but he's definitely in the Mathurin collective.
Get that garbage out of here!
For a number of reasons. They don't want to win games. Russell has had so many games where the minutes just get limited, and he's hurt. Again, you don't roster him. I think you do hold Cam Johnson for now, but in a week's time, you won't be. Maybe 2 weeks' time. He played 29 minutes. He had 18, 3 and 2, which is fine, but it's not good. It's fine. And then Keon Johnson had 16 and 4 with a steal and a block and shot horribly. He took a lot of shots, though, and that's the good thing. He's okay to hold, but honestly, is he a part of the Mathurin collective? The TMC? TMC. That's just TMC. What is TMC? TMC, is that... I feel like is that like a random 90s, but that's OMC. How bizarre. TMC, I don't think it's anything. Anyway, fine. What about the big man? What about Day'Ron Sharpie Sharp. 20 minutes, 7 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 4 blocks. And it would have been way better had he not shot 30%. Now, yeah, we want more than 19 minutes. Of course we do. But bro's cooking. He's 106th in 18 minutes. And honestly, I don't think he's in TMC. I don't think he's part of the Matherin collective. Because he's doing it in those minutes. But what if it goes up? What if they do limit Claxton? Who knows what happens when Clowney returns or if Thomas is back? I got no idea. But yeah, I'm into adding Sharpie here. Ziaire Williams was fine. 10 and 7, 2 steals and a block. That's great. We have seen Ziaire Williams play minutes all season and be useless most of the time. He'll have good games. He'll have terrible ones. And that's who he is. Watford, he's also a bit of a sneaky, silly season stream potential guy. 13 and 4 in his 21 minutes. And then for those of you in the deep formats, those of you who are in the double onyx, diamond, titanium, platinum, palladium leagues, Killian Hayes played 21 minutes. And D'Lo got hurt. Now, Hayes is going to be brutal for your field goals. I know this. But he might get games of 7 assists and 4 steals. He had 5, 1, and 3 in this game with a block in 21 minutes. If you're in deeper leagues, you add him. Like, you do add him. If you're in deeper leagues. Jalen Wilson was fine, 10, 5, and 2, but I didn't get moved. I didn't get moved to get excited about it at all. We should do the next game. That'll be a good idea because it is your mates, the Chicago Bulls, the New York Knickerbockers, overtime. The Knicks win at 113-111. Lonzo Ball started, but it wasn't Matas Buzalis who went to the bench. May as well have been, but it wasn't. It was Ayo Dosunmu. Now, I am known to be a bit of an Ayo reverse connoisseur. Some might call me a hater. That's okay. I just don't think he's very good. And again, to rephrase what I think about Ayo Dosunmu, I think he is a totally adequate, journeyman, 5th starter, 6th man type of a player who needs a lot of the ball to be good, who goes on shooting streaks and gets incredibly overrated in so many areas. The interesting thing is that they just went, yeah, you're coming off the bench. Let's start with Dosunmu. He played 28 minutes. He had 5 points. He shot 25%. He had 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Now, is that part of TMC, the Matherin collective? Probably. I'd be more inclined to hold him than Matherin, for example. But, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've got extreme confidence in how good he is, because I don't. But you know that about me. Kobe White is on a horrendous run. What is going on with this man? 11, 2, and 6. Didn't shoot very much. It's not even because bad shooting. He just didn't shoot. He has been someone that, thankfully, I was able to fade this season, because I was like, I don't buy this at all from him. As much as I liked him last season, I was not in. And it's probably been worse. Oh, no, it's probably been about where I thought he'd be, but it's a real rough run at the moment. Old mate Josh Giddey had 27, 16, and 4. He had a steal and a block. He shot well. That's great. We enjoy that, and we hope it continues. Well, Big Vooch had a Vooch game. He played 36 minutes, and he had 21 and 9, which is just very Vooch. It's also very Vooch to have 1 assist, 0 steals, and 1 block, and attempt 0 free throws, and shoot 43% from the field, and the slowdown has hit. He's outside the top 120 over the last 2 weeks. Yep. Oh, but he was so good, and he got me this far. Oh. Yep, he'll have better games than this, no question. His backup, Sticks, concussion. Oh no. Whacked in the face in the concussion protocol, lasted 2 minutes. You know, happens to the best of us, Jalen. He didn't score. He had a rebound. You drop him. Easy, done. We were seeing, would they make a decision? Would they change something? No, they're the Bulls. See you later, Jalen. And then Matas Buzalis, who I guess you're coming here to ask about. He played 24 minutes. Why? I've got no idea. Because what are they trying to do? What's the Bulls? They're trying to be the worst run franchise that they can be. He had 5 points in 7 rebounds. He had a block. Now, him starting is interesting. Him playing 30 plus minutes would be interesting. He's not doing those things. Is he good enough, Matas Buzalis, to be in front of the TMZ line? The TMC line? Is he good enough? Is he a part of the Matherin collective? The answer will shock you. He's not. He's not good enough. Like, he's not good enough to be out of that group. We thought we might be getting a nice little run. We didn't. We can move on. Now, there is still upside because... Okay, let's rephrase. There is still some upside if this was a normal team. But it's not. So will they ever just allow him to do some stuff? No, I don't know. Lonzo Ball played 30 minutes. He had 14, 4, and 4. Didn't shoot well again. I would say that Lonzo is better than a lot of those Matherin collective guards, but it has not been a good run from him. And if you don't want to hold him, I also think it's totally reasonable. In this game, with Bazelis getting Donovaned, it was Julian Phillips who had 12 and 6 in 23 minutes, which is like, whatever. He took 5 shots. I don't think we need to get excited there, but yeah, he did some stuff. And then we talk now about the Knicks side, because there was no OG Anunoby after they edged us with game time decisions before the break. He was questionable for this one. He didn't play. If he doesn't play tomorrow, I'm going to be calling out some garbage on this team because, yeah, to tell us that he was questionable a week ago and still not play, that's not great. That meant that Precious Achiuwa stayed in the starting lineup and Juice McBride joined him because Josh the Hitman Hart was out. And we've seen this, and this is what I talked about with Juice so many times this season. If we get an opportunity for him to start, Tibbs will just say, all right, you're playing 45 minutes. Well, he didn't quite get that. He played 42. He had 23, 6, and 3, 3 steals, 3 blocks, and 5 threes. As long as Josh Hart and OG are out, that looks really good. That would be past the Matherin collective line. That would be good enough to just roster. But it requires 2 guys being out to get there. As for the big sneeze, Precious Achiuwa, 46 minutes, 11 and 9 with 3 steals. This man has 0 shot at being a 12-10 league guy off the bench. None. Like, that's fine for now, but whatever. And Mikal Bridges had a nice block at the end of regulation to make him have a terrible line still. 13, 10, and 5 with bad shooting. And the big thing we've always been checking is, would Mikal Bridges take a free throw? No. And he shot horribly from the field. What has happened to this man? Townsy had 32 and 18. Good. Brunson had 12, 3 and 12. Good. And then we had a bench that consisted of Ariel Hukporti, Landry Shamet, and Cameron Payne. Of course it did. What a bench. What a roster. What a team. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You can bet live bets all through the game. So if you miss the opening tip or you just see something developing, an underdog looking a little plucky and you think they're going to get stomped in the second half, well, live bets can do it. And you can also up your odds by doing all those live bets into a same game parlay as well. And right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com to join today. That is FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, let's go to the next one. The Orlando Magic beat the Hawks 114-108 is your final score here. Orlando made a change. This is one of those ones that we did see happen post All-Star break. They went in there and they crunched the numbers. They looked at the data and they went, all right, it's Wendell Carter and not Goga Bitadze who's our starter. So Carter, the starter, played 32 minutes. He had 9 and 15. He had a block. You don't roster him. You don't add him. I don't care that he played 30 minutes. I don't care that he's a starter. He is a 14-team league guy at best. As for Bitadze, the dart, I know you all want him to be something.
Get that garbage out of here.
But I don't think it's going to happen. 6 and 6, a steal and 2 blocks, which is not a bad line. It is fine. But a 15-minute a night reserve center doing that, when I could stream that spot, is useless. And they've got a 2-game playoff week. Cole Anthony went crazy. 17 and 5, 3 steals and a block. I'm going to go ahead and say that Jalen Suggs does not play tomorrow. And that means Anthony's an option. But of course, they could just play 33 minutes of Mr. Black, who played 15 minutes here. And we have seen this with Anthony Black all season. Terrible. Oh, we got something good here? No. Terrible. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Terrible. Today, 10 points, but he played 15 minutes. Not good enough. 2 steals, 2 blocks is good. I like that. But it's just not consistent enough. And I would much rather take the flyer upside on Cole Anthony. But again, this is just short-term stuff. Let's check in on Paolo Banchero's efficiency. 44 on 25 attempts is bad. 69 is good, except when it comes on 16 free throw attempts. So, yeah, but it's a bit better than what he was doing. Still not good. And Wagner had some struggles from the line as well. 64 on his 11 attempts. And he went 25, 7, and 5. But unfortunately, no threes or defensive stats. KCP sucked. He is a stream guy only. He is absolutely not a must-roster player. 6-3 in 30 minutes for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Let's go on to the Atlanta side of things, because this is, again, one of these teams where we're going to see some weird stuff happen. What we did see happen is they decided to roll the same lineup out there, and that means starting Mohamed Waiayuge. Ge played 15 minutes. He had a block. He had 2 points. That is 3 starts in a row where Ge has played like 15 minutes. So, if you want to jack Gay, do it.
Get that garbage out of here.
In fact, do it in nearly every league. Zach Ricochet. Can this man, who is admittedly playing better, can he just play 30 minutes? Ricochet played 24 minutes. What? 11 and 12. A steal and a block. 3 threes. He shot 27%. 1 of 10 from 2. But, I don't know. He is not good enough to hold or roster in 12 at all. But he was moving into that stream zone. This is not a bad game. But, man, it's frustrating. Trae Young was huge. 37 minutes, 38, 4 and 5. Are we just going to get edged all the way through with probable and questionable tags on him? It feels like it might happen, but, we'll see. And then Daniels had 10 and 9 with 3 steals. What we wanted to see is what we wanted to see was Clint Capella going to play? And the answer is yes. Was Clint Capella going to do anything? The answer to that is no. He played 18 minutes. He had 3 and 4. He blocked a shot and he was horrible from the field. Any dream of Clint Capella, he's still 93% rostered on Basketball Monster Advanced Numbers. What on earth is happening? I'm going to double jack this.
Get that garbage out of here. Get that garbage out of here.
Even though my wrists are sore. What are we doing? Move on. Why are you still holding him? Karis LeVert, who was really good the last time we saw him, was incredibly mid. 13, 4, 2 steals, no assists. Bad from the free throw line, but this is the Karis LeVert experience. If you added him, you signed up to this. You know that he'll have a run where it's unbelievable. Look at this man, 35 points, 13 assists, 3 steals, 80% shooting, and then 7 on 1 of 18 shooting. That is what he is. All right, he's fine. The minutes are up. He's okay. Is it must? It's close-ish to that. While George Niang, who's the guy getting the minutes behind Gay, played 26 minutes. He had 8 and 6 with 2 threes. He is not a must-roster player. We had someone asked this question on the mailbag show earlier today, and I was talking about Gay and talking about, and look, the option was hey, do I look at Niang, or so not Gay, do I look at Niang or do I look at Mamu Kelly, which we'll talk about later? And I said something that was probably stupid. I said I'd like Mamu because I think there's a little bit more upside in him. Of course, there's no upside if he plays 0 minutes. But Niang is just a limited ceiling player who's a points and threes merchant. And he had 8 and 2 threes with 6 rebounds. Put him in the stream bucket. Don't worry about it otherwise. Terrence Mann for fantasy is just it's never going to happen. I'm pretty convinced of that. Remember when he scored 40 points against Utah? Yeah, I do. And the fact that you're referencing that game 30 years on means that he probably hasn't done much. In the interim, the next game is Terrence Mann's former team. It is the LA Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks win it 116-110. Kawhi Leonard was back, but Norman Powell was out. Is he crying because he didn't get an All-Star call-up after LeBron was ruled out? Did everyone just assume that it was going to be Powell that got that All-Star spot? I'm not sure how accurate that is, but whatever. And then Derek Jones started. No, that's the wrong way around. Amir Coffey started, not Derek Jones. So Derek Jones went to the bench, and Amir Coffey started. So interesting change. What is also interesting, that with Norman Powell out, Chris Dunn played 31 minutes. He scored 5 points. But if you're in a category league, you love that he had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 steals, and a block. That is unbelievably good. His production is great. Now, it will get skewed on a standard nightcap ranking. You'll say, Chris Dunn has been the 10th best player over the last week, and you'll add him and you'll do nothing. So don't get too sucked in. And there was no Powell in this game, and that does help. But if you're looking for defensive stats and you don't care about scoring, Dunn's on a nice little run here, and I don't mind just grabbing and seeing where we go. What we wanted to check was what would happen to Ben Simmons. And the answer is he played 20 minutes. He had 6, 5, and 4 with a steal and a block. He shot well. Again, that's true. I think he's missed 1 shot in his 2 games for the Clippers. But he played 20 minutes.
Get that garbage out of here.
We don't roster that, do we? And then Bogdanovic played 20. He had 15 points. I like that. In fact, Bogdan's line's great. 15, 2, and 5. 2 steals. Love that. Great. But it's under 20 minutes without Norm Powell. Not someone that I think we need to lock in on and hold. Jimmy Harden had 24, 5, and 8. Kawhi had 25, 4, and 4. And Zubats played 37 minutes. A little bit worried last game about, is Simmons going to eat into Zubats? No. 20 and 15 with 3 blocks is a very, very good result and should make you feel a little bit better if you were a little bit concerned, I guess, about Simmons' arrival. For the Bucks, Yanni returned. Damian Lillard returned. Andre Jackson moved to the bench. So they sat down over the break and went, all right, you embarrassed us at the dunk contest, Andre Jackson. You're not starting anymore. And Taurean Prince, Darvin Ham, do you reckon he had a word? Do you reckon he impacted this at all? Anyway, Taurean Prince started. And Ryan Rollins moved over to a bench role. Let's talk about this because they play Giannis was on a minutes limit here. They play the Wizards tomorrow. Is it the Wizards? They play someone bad. Don't be shocked if there are sits happening here. Lillard had 15, 7, and 7 in 33. Lopez, with Bobby Portis out, is going to play a lot. 22 and 7, 4 threes and 4 blocks. And Yanni had 23, 8, and 4 in 24 minutes. And the artist, formerly known as Taurean Prince, who always comes up as my streaming option for this team, and I look at it and go, really? Why are my projections thinking he's a stream option for deeper leagues? But he was good. 14 and 7 with 4 threes. We don't act on it. We don't do anything outside of the very deep formats. But he was there. And the question, I guess, is what happens with Kyle Kuzma with Bobby Portis out? Does it change anything? No. He had 13 points. He took 9 shots. He had no steals and no blocks. And again, that's because the impact to me for Kuzma was coming to Milwaukee and playing next to Giannis and Dame. Not because there's a high usage guy on the bench. And Portis being gone doesn't make him shoot better, doesn't make him get defensive stats. And yeah, it gives him a little bit more time to be without those, when the other starters aren't there, and he doesn't have to share the court with Portis. But overall, Kuzma feels like he's going to be a very easy drop, to be honest. Although I wouldn't do it for tomorrow because there is a risk these Bucks guys don't play. Big Boom AJ had 9 points in 30 minutes with 3 threes. And you'll be shocked to know, I tell you, that Andre Jackson Jr. went from doing nothing as a starter, to playing 0 minutes. So they went in there, all right, let's look at our lineup. Doc's like, I've been playing Andre Jackson as the starter. Probably shouldn't have been doing that, should I have? Yeah, but I bet 20 minutes a night. Nope. 0. Good enough to be one of my first 5, not good enough to be a bench player. Anyway, if you are in a deep league, Jericho Sims, maker of the list, he will be someone that's going to get minutes because Portis is out. Now, he did nothing. He had 2 rebounds. Like, literally, that is all he did. But he played 17 minutes. Kevin Porter Jr.'s got a little bit of extra run in this game. He had 13 points. He didn't have a single rebound, and we absolutely do not roster him in any 12 or 14 or probably 16 team leagues, to be honest. So now we get to check out a team that's played 2 games after the break, and that's the Hornets. They took on the Nuggets on a back-to-back. They lose 129-115. There was no LaMelo Ball or Mark Williams resting on the back-to-back. That was expected. We had Alfred Payton starting, not KJ Simpson. They are continuing to deactivate KJ Simpson. He's only got 15 two-way days left, so I'm guessing they're going to be very cautious with that. And they started Yusuf Nurkic and not Moussa Diabate, which is honestly not 100% what I thought would happen, but we also saw that Diabate was very much not in their plans earlier in the season. So let's talk about what happened in that center spot. Diabate still played 29 minutes. He had 11 and 6. He shot 30%. Nurkic played 19 minutes. He had 9 and 10 with 7 assists. Is this just because it was against his former team? It was a coaching revenge game? Does 9, 10, and 7 on 36% count as a revenge game for Nurkic? Honestly, the main part of this is with Mark Williams playing and Diabate getting zeros, there's no way he is a must-roster player. Now, if we saw a situation where Williams is done, then sure. If they run this minute split, 20 to 29, then sure. But this is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see how they would use Diabate in this game, because that's what I said yesterday. Bad that he got a 0. Hold for tomorrow. You might get something. And he got, something. 11 and 6 is not good, though. And waiting for that with no starting upside at this stage is not probably worth it. Tijan Slan is horrendous. How bad is this guy? Maybe he's going to be good, but this is, again, every game. Just go look at his overall 2-point percentage. He had 3 points in 24 minutes. He shot 1 of 6. Bro, he sucks. What is happening? Miles Bridges was very good. 36, 13, and 7, 3 steals and a block. If you can still do trades in your league, you might want to look at that. And the other guy, wow, what about this guy? We got no KJ Simpson. Big Damo. Now, I believe I mispronounced his name, so I looked at it using an Australian pronunciation. That's how I looked at it, which would be Ball. But it's Damian Barr. Damian Barr. Had a pretty good game, old Barry. He played 32 minutes. He had 14 points. He had 6 assists. He had 2 steals. He shot 86%, so just keep that in your brain. He only took 7 shots. And like Kenneth Simpson Jr., Barr has limited games that he can play. I believe he's got 14 more games he's eligible for. So, while 14 and 6 with 2 steals is bloody good, it needed 87% shooting, it needed LaMelo out, and he can only play half the remaining games. So, no, Damian Barr is not a must-roster player. Nick Smith was sort of back on track, but he's got a lot of the Keon Johnsons about him, hasn't he? 16, 1 and 3 on bad percentages, but good volume. It's going to turn more into must-roster for Smitty if Ball doesn't play. And he's playing, but at some point, maybe LaMelo doesn't last the year. We'll see what they do with that. We also got 13 Wendell Moore minutes, and I really don't want to have to talk about Wendell Moore again. And hopefully I don't. Let's go on to the Nuggets side of this matchup. Michael Porter Jr., who missed the last game before the break, he returned. Aaron Gordon, who missed the last game before the break, he returned. Russell Westbrook, who'd been out for a long period of time, returned. But they didn't go back to that starting lineup. We didn't know what they would do. But Westbrook did not start. Gordon did. Porter did. And that meant that Strawther and Zeke Naji came off the bench. But Christian Brown maintained his starting job. So the first thing I want to do is look at what Christian Brown did, and he had 10, 2, and 2 with no threes. Okay, Brown was on an insane hot streak. And you know me, I have been Brown skeptical all season. I have been. I don't trust Brown to be able to do this. But he put up massive hot streaks. And we saw the last time when they were healthy, Brown got benched into a 26-minute-a-night role. That didn't happen here. You can still hold Christian Brown. But again, I will continue to say this. I think that when you get to the fantasy playoffs, you'll be in a situation and go, why am I holding this guy? And if you anchor yourself because Brown put up these good numbers through big periods of time and go, well, I can't drop him. How good was he? And then he rolls 180th over the playoffs. Well, that costs you a lot. I wouldn't drop him. He is starting. But if he goes to the bench, I would have no issue with just jacking him straight away. No, but you know that I'm much more down on him than others are. Jokic had 29, 17, and 9. Steal, block, great. Missed a free throw, the bum. While Jamal Murray had 34, 1, and 4. And Strawther was good again. Strawther had an unbelievably hot preseason and then disappeared. And was completely out of the idea of Michael Malone. But here we go. 16 with 4 threes. He's a stream guy only. And it was a very good Aaron Gordon game. I'm not sure I care that much. He had 18 and 7, which I'm not going to ignore that. He played 32 minutes. I'm not going to ignore that. Is he a must roster or is he part of the Mathurin collective? I think he's probably at least close to the map. Maybe his ass is rubbing up against it as he looks forward. And he's slightly ahead of the Mathurin collective. But he's not like an absolute must. And I'd like to give Westbrook a couple more games because he was way ahead of that. But he played 26 minutes. He had 8, 3, and 7. He shot 30%, which is a Westbrook special. 25 minutes Russell Westbrook, we don't want that in 10 or 12s. And 14s is borderline. 33-minute Russell Westbrook, we absolutely do. So let's see how Dr. Malone runs all of this stuff. And whether we need to hold on to Russ here. The poop cookie, Michael Porter, had 6 points on 18%, which, as you're well aware, is terrible. He did have 11 rebounds. We hold through it, but yeah, not a great game from old Michael Porter Jr. All right, let's go on to one of the games that we've really been looking at, and that is the Phoenix Suns and the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs win 120-109 without Victor Wembanyama. We'll start with the Suns because they made a change, and we said we don't really know what to expect here for Bol Bol. What happens when Booker returns? What happens when Beal plays? Well, the answer is that Bol Bol went to the bench. But did he? Because he did, but then he started the second half, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Royce O'Neal stayed in the starting lineup. Devin Booker came back and replaced Bol. Booker was fine. He played 41 minutes. He had 17 points, 8 assists, steal, block, pretty good. Durant, 22, 5, and 2. Not great, not awesome, not terrible, pretty good. And then it just all turns to shit. It was a really good Royce O'Neal game. Don't get me wrong. 36 minutes for Royce. That's unbelievable from the Basmati man. 6 of 12 from 3. He had 27 and 6 with 3 steals. I love it. People are going to rush to add Royce O'Neal. Don't. Because we know who he is. This is great. It's a very good game. He shot 50% from 3. He led the team in shot attempts. How often is that going to happen, you reckon? The answer is not really very much. Let's talk about Bol. Because he didn't start, obviously. He started the second half, and he ended up with a grand total of 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes, he had 5 points and 4 rebounds and blocked a shot. He was a minus 13 because, and I know you want to say it, out loud, he is bad. This is why he doesn't play. Not some anti-ball agenda, mini Wemby, Shaq, everyone else. He is bad. He will put up fantasy numbers. We know this. But they already moved off him. Speaking of moving off, how did BDNR look? 3 points for Nick Richards in 9 minutes. Turns out he is also bad. Yeah, you don't roster Nick Richards, you move on. And I guess I probably should have told you what to do with Bol. Well, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do with Bol. But obviously, if there is a 10-minute downside in his role with those guys back, which we were very cautious about what they were going to do, well, that's impossible to hold on to. You might want to say, well, they're going nowhere. They'll see what Bol gives. You know who a Bol is? He's a 25-year-old journeyman who cannot execute team systems consistently. That's what he is. So we had to grab him. You have to grab Bol as a starter playing 28 minutes because the fantasy numbers would be great if they held. We had no idea whether they would. In fact, the likely scenario was that they wouldn't. But what we are trying to do is because you're not holding anybody who's a 120th best player, none of them. You're saying, oh, could this happen? Could he be a top 50 guy and we roll rest of season? Well, he could, but it doesn't look like he will. Beal played 33 minutes. He had 19, 9, and 6. Pretty good. Pretty good stuff. And Grayson Allen had 11 points. He didn't do much there. I don't think Allen's more than a stream level player. As for Tyus Jones, yeah, no. I've been on the anti-Tyus Jones bandwagon all season.
Get that garbage out of here.
1 of 9 shooting, 3 points, 3 assists. His team is... Has there been more cancer in the locker room than this team? What is happening? I cannot believe how shocking everything is on this squad. But yeah, I wouldn't rush to add O'Neal. I wouldn't hold Richards. I wouldn't hold Jones. I wouldn't hold Bol. I wouldn't hold Allen. Ryan Dunn played 0 minutes. Like, what is going on with this squad? It is... honestly, it's crazy to see how bad things are. But let's talk Spurs. Speaking of bad, because I didn't expect this. It was Bismack Biyombo, who must be on the final day of his 10-day contract now. He started with Victor Wembanyama out. Did he play a lot of minutes? No. And I've been told that he's not available to add on Yahoo. He was added. He was on this roster 10 days ago. And I'll call out ESPN for their nonsense. This is Yahoo. This is bullshit too. Add him. Why is he not there? Now, we don't add him. We don't add Biyombo in 12-10 leagues. Charles Bassey looks like he returns tomorrow. Someone asked in one of the comments, why do I call Charlie Bassey a Goldfinger? Well, if you want to go back in time to 1967, maybe, I don't know. Very famous James Bond movie called Goldfinger. And the lady who sang the theme song to Goldfinger, her name was Shirley Bassey. Yeah, it's a bloody long bow to draw. And no, I wasn't alive when that movie came out. Someone said to me, because I was arguing with someone, I do it sometimes. And someone was like, oh, bloody kids talking stuff. Like, bro, I'm 45. And apparently people think that I'm like 30, which is great, but I'm also not. And I'm also not old enough to know when Goldfinger came out. Anyway, that's why I called Charlie Bassey that. So yeah, they started Biyombo. He had 8 points. He had 3 rebounds. That is deep league stuff only. And he is still just on a 10-day, and I don't know if they re-sign him. So who got boosts? We did get a Jeremy Sohan boost. 12, 5, and 4. Is it enough to lock in as a must-roster player? Probably not. But if you did add Sohan, you would hold him. And if you wanted to have a flyer on it, I think it's okay. Steph Castle, who'd been cooking with huge usage and minutes been pretty good, nothing really changed. He played 26 minutes. He took 12 shots. He was bad at shooting them, 4 of them. 4 of 12. And he had 10 and 10 with 2 assists and 3 steals. I know all the Castle truthers, every time he has a big game or he does a dunk in a dunk contest, will try and find my past videos where I say, I don't really think he's a high-level star upside player. But they won't do it after he has 10 points on 12 shots. Castle is okay to roster, but again, he has played big minutes most of the season. He's also, by the way, not playing big minutes now. And it's hard to get it's hard for me to get excited about a guy who struggles with rebounding, not an assist player, can't shoot, doesn't hit threes, but was getting by on these weird, incredibly high usage games. And I don't really know why or how that was happening. So what did happen? Chris Paul played 32 minutes. He had 13, 5, and 10 with 2 steals. That's very good. De'Aaron Fox had 26, 9, and 7 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Incredibly good. Devin Vassell, he took more shots. I like that. But only 5 of 14. I would hold Vassell without any question. I know there'll be someone watching this, and if this might be you. There was someone out there who dropped Devin Vassell to add Steph Castle, didn't you? I know you did. You did that. I wouldn't do that. Vassell was not good here, obviously. But they still got the win somehow. We had 25 Keldon Johnson minutes, but I've buried the lead. I thought that they would have to because they didn't have any viable centers. And no, Bismack Biyombo isn't a viable center. And they played this man 26 minutes a night down the stretch last season. I thought that Sandro Mamukelashvili would get a shot at starting, or at least play minutes. Nah, zero. Yeah, that's a terrible call from me. I thought, yeah, let's stream him in. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I like it as a stream option. And he was getting 10 minutes a night. I think the last game he played 3 minutes, but he played 10 the couple before. He was the backup center. And now their starting center goes down, their backup center's out, and Australian fast bowler Mitch Johnson says, you're not playing at all, which is incredibly weird to me. So if you added Mamukelashvili, I apologize. I thought that he would have to get minutes at least until Bassi came back. Apparently not, and Bassi's back tomorrow. So you can add Bassi, but honestly, what if Bassi comes back tomorrow and Mamukelashvili plays 28 minutes? I'll end it. I'll end it all. I won't. But this stuff happens. You would think, mate, great opportunity. Mamu, at least get a game in. No Wemby. Castle's going to go crazy. But no, none of that happened. Harrison Barnes did the Barnes thing. 8 points, 27 minutes, 4 rebounds. That is Barnes. You don't add him. You don't use him in 10 or 12 or probably even 14-team leagues if we're going to be completely honest. So let's do the final game of the day. The Lakers on a back-to-back up against the Portland Trailblazers. Luka was out resting after injury management after coming back from that calf tear. Dorian Finney-Smith is who started. So they went extremely big with a Finney-Smith, Reeves, James, Hachimura, and Hayes starting group. Rui Hachimura, who was very good yesterday, had 6 points. He played 35 minutes. He had 12 rebounds. He shot poorly. He is just not a 12-team league player. I will continue to say it. I will continue. Actually, you know what? This year it hasn't been that bad. Normally in the past I'd get a lot of people, maybe all those Rui people just stopped watching the show because I kept telling them that, no, you don't need this guy on a 12-team roster. He's okay to stream when he has a couple of hot streak games, but overall, no. He just doesn't do it. LeBron, what is happening? 36 minutes, 40 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. How does this man do this? How? I don't know. Anyway, Austin Reeves cooked without old mate Luka as well. He had a Richie Beno with 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 2 threes. He had 32 with 7 assists. He got to the line a million times. He didn't shoot that well, but this is very clearly just a Luka thing. Look at that. 24 shots for LeBron, 21 for Reeves, nobody else in double digits. As for Hayes, that's okay for Jackson. 28 minutes, 9 and 7, 4 assists and a block. It's not bad. Is it something you want to lock yourself into? No. But he's absolutely in the 12-team zone. Is he better than Nick Richards? Of course he is. Dalton Connect had 0 points in 13 minutes. Surely, oh my God, 22% rostered, according to Basketball Monsters' advanced number. What are you, and I'm so sorry to tell you this, if this is you, this is going to be offensive. What are your shit for brains doing? Why is he being rostered?
Get that garbage out of here!
Ugh. They also played Trey Jemison 14 minutes in this game, 6 and 4 for him, and Vincent only got 16 minutes because Jordan Goodwin is really starting to play pretty well. Now, we know that Goodwin's had some very strong rebounding games in the past. We're not doing anything really with that. He's on a limited 2-way contract, but it's just something to keep in mind. Finney-Smith was fine, 10 and 6, 2 steals and a block. I believe eventually they will need to replace Rui with him, but it's not going to matter for most leagues. The more interesting stuff happened on the other side, and that is in Portland, who continued to lose after that little weird resurgence. Of course, there's no Deandre Ayton, and I don't believe that Deandre Ayton is coming back this season, so Donovan Clingan continues to start. And Donovan Clingan played 17 minutes. He had 6 points. He had 6 rebounds. He had 1 steal and 3 blocks. And I guess you'll say, well, Josh, he had foul trouble. No, he didn't. But he just didn't play him. And it is hard. There are so many things that I was talking to my partner about this today, and we're talking about, life and the human condition in fantasy. And we talk about how I can be quite dispassionate at times in terms of looking at this stuff and analyzing it and saying, but like, I'll tell you what the data says. I know this is revenge games or contract years or whatever it is. All right, I'll tell you, okay, this is what the data is. I'm trying to inform people, but sometimes we just want hope or excitement. Gibby's a rookie. He might be great. I saw him play at Connecticut. He was awesome. And my thing was, there is the very large likelihood that Donovan Clingan will never, ever be as good as Deandre Ayton. Never, ever be that good. And he's shouted down for that stuff. Oh, what are you talking about? Ayton's trash. Clingan's great. But he was pick 7 in a terrible draft. He'd be like pick 20 in most drafts. He can't really... the size is not great. He is going to be better than what he is right now, Donovan Clingan. I still don't think... At the moment, currently, he is not good. He is fine. He will have good moments. He is not a good NBA player at the moment, Donovan Clingan. But they don't have that many other options. And good doesn't always marry into immediate fantasy production. We've seen that many times. But it always gives you that little scare. And that's where I think you should fit with Clingan. So don't drop him. He is a must-add because Ayton is out. But don't think that that means that he is a good player. Because he's not yet. He might, but he's not. Clingan, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 3 blocks. I just said that. He just said that. Okay. And again, be always cautious about how you get over your skis and think about which players you've got. No, I've done it. I've done it before. I tried not to do it, but there are players you can get over your skis with. Jeremy Grant's not one of those. He shot 8%. What is this guy? This guy might be the most annoying player to me in the NBA. And you see these photos of him dressing full Portland hipster, and I go bro, can you just grab a rebound at some point? Do something on a team that matters once. This is, I think, obvious. You don't roster him.
Get that garbage out of here.
3, 2, and 2. Bro. Simons had 8 points on 23%, and you do roster him, but it's not going to be all season, while Scooter played 30 minutes, 12, 2, and 5 with 2 steals. He didn't shoot very well, Scoot. I would hold Scoot over Jeremy Grant without question. It was also an utterly bizarre and horrific game from Shaedon Sharpe, who honestly has been bad as well. I don't think you need to hold him. What is this shit? 11, 1, and 2. He hit 3 threes. He shot 36%. What is that? He had 4 turnovers. Yuck. And Delano Banton, who we've talked about, that we wait until players go out because he's not in the rotation. Well, he barely was. He played 11 minutes. But he's not enough of a rotation player. And your ability to stash guys like Scoot, like Banton, is going to depend a lot on your league settings and where you are in the standings. A very good game from Toumani Camara. 38 minutes for him, 19 and 7 with 5 steals. My concern with Camara ties back into a lot of these guys, like an Ayo Dosunmu. I think that he's a very good role player, very good defender. The 5 steals are great. He took 8 shots in 38 minutes. He hit 7 of them for 88%. That is just not a sustainable model. Yes, we do roster him at this point, and he's honestly, as much as I've been a little resistant to where his value is, I think he's probably pushed past the Mathurin collective at this stage. But he'll probably go and have 0 points on 0 of 2 shooting in the next game. Denny Avdia was also great after some down games. He had 28, 4, and 5 with 2 steals. I think the thing we've got to talk about is what do we do with Robert Williams, who played 25 minutes? I think what I sit here and go is I don't trust that Williams can do that for 3 games in a row. But he had 8 and 6 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Now, he didn't take any shots, 5 of them. 4 of them went in, that's great. But him playing 25 to Clingan's 6-17 is interesting. I would not drop Clingan for Williams. I would not do that. I'm not sure I'd even prioritize adding Rob Williams. But it is interesting. It is an interesting game without question, really. That is an interesting performance, and I didn't think that they would lean into giving him minutes along those lines. So now we get to do the lines of the night. The monstrous line of the night is where we start off. And it does go, unfortunately, to Miles Bridges, who had 36, 13, and 7 with 3 steals and a block. Very good game. No one was even close enough to him for me to consider a different direction. The waiver wire line of the night. Under 30% rostered on Yahoo is what the cutoff I'm using now. It's Royce O'Neal. The Basmati man hit 6 threes. He had 3 steals. He hit 27 points. He was great. He's streamable without being a must roster. Your young gun of the night. First or second year player. Well, it is Toumani Camara. That's an undeniably great game. 19 and 7 with elite shooting. 5 steals. We love that. Great. Good to see from him. Unbelievable start to his career. And the dud of the night, well, it could have gone many directions, but this man is 93% rostered on Basketball Monster. Clint Capella, what are we doing? 3 and 4 with a block. Can you please jack him off? I'm sure he'd appreciate that as well. That does bring us to the end of the show. So, what should I do? I'll just tell you that again, it's National Sticky Bun Day. I'm probably going to make some sticky buns later on in the day. Will I? I guess we'll find out. Anyway, give a thumb, drop a comment, leave it down below. Tell me how badly I ruined your life by saying that I thought Sandro Babakelishvili was going to be a good option. Tell me about how I wasted your ads and how, what a good ad. LOL. Do that. That would be great. But if otherwise, maybe we just keep... I know that it was wrong. But I want you to look at yourself. And that sounded bad. I didn't like how I said that. What I want you to do is, again, we try and keep it... It doesn't have to be positive to me, but we just want to keep it positive in general. We just want to make sure that we are not bashing ourselves. I'm not going to come back here because I've learned from stuff. I'm not going to come back here and bash myself in the head about talking about Sandro Babakelishvili. I'm not. I'm going to say, that was annoying. It was shit. I think the process was sort of okay, but it definitely didn't work. And we'll move on to the next one. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.